What's going on, guys? I want to welcome you back. We've made it. We've made it to the first October patch. Congratulations. You've survived the hella craziness, and it's a pretty good one at that. We've got ourselves 6 different buffs, a couple of nerfs, but you guys saw the thumbnail. We're going to just get right to the card. Everybody wants to know, how did he change? And no, it's not activate, but I think it's pretty damn good. Zabu, Mr. Mufasa, he's back. He's back on Pride Rock, and let me tell you, I think this is massive for 4-cost cards. You guys know 4-cost took a giant dip in overall competitive play because Zabu is what gave them life. And well, the old Zabu sucked for almost a year. But the new and improved Zabu is going from the old 2-3 that he was. And on the next turn, he would give 4-cost cards minus 1 cost. The new and improved Zabu is a 1-cost, 2-power card. And get this, all of the cards in your deck that are 4-cost are going to permanently have minus 1 cost. So they're going to have 3 costs if you draw them, and this is massive for all the 4 costs, but a few in particular. I mean, right off the bat, tech cards back on the table, freaking Shang-Chi, Enchantress. Good cards to have at play, and if they're in your hand, oh well. But if they're in your deck, you get to play a couple of them on turn 6. Absolutely massive for the style that we're kind of used to playing. On top of that, you know, again, not all the 4-cost cards are going to love this, but Lockjaw, Scarlet Spider, Gwenpool, Iron Lad, Symbiote Spider-Man, Wiccan, just to name a few. But also like Kazar and Shauna just work perfectly in a zoo deck with this card. And so we definitely have a lot of changes coming to the meta with Zabu and the re-emergence of this lion, this tiger, this saber-tooth that we've all loved. I just named like 5 freaking animals. But definitely pumped here. This is by far the biggest change. Mr. Negative, there's a lot of decks that are going to be feasting, and all of us have them. We all have Zabu, right? So you're going to be able to right away test out some new stuff. Now, quickly, part of the interruption, guys, but today's video is sponsored by NBA 2K25 Arcade Edition. Well, NBA 2K25 Arcade Edition puts you in control of your destiny. What's awesome is you can build your My Player from the ground up. From short to tall, the wingspan, position, playstyle, you name it, you're in control. And you can also join your favorite NBA team and take over the league. You'll be able to start as a rookie in the My Career and rise up to legendary status by entering the big league and giving it all you got. And outside just the big game, you're able to explore your neighborhood and get your player leveled up by doing quests, practicing your moves, and of course some street ball. But you can even visit your My Player's home, the indoor, the outdoor court, the surroundings, the shops, you name it. Now, if PvP is your thing, then you'll love ranked matches where you can challenge other players worldwide and climb the Game Center leaderboard to prove you're the best. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead and download NBA 2K25 Arcade Edition down in the description below. You can go ahead and join me on the courts and find that link in the description below. And another huge thank you to NBA 2K25 Arcade Edition for sponsoring today's video. Now, next up in the buff department, we have 3 different cards getting a 1 power increase, but all of them definitely want to see the change. We have Grandmaster going from a 2-2 to a 2-3. We have Emperor Hulkling going up a power point, as well as Okoye going to a 2-3 as well. Now, if you got an eagle eye, you probably see the common theme here, that all these cards, they freaking suck, right? Like, you're not playing really any of these cards. Maybe Grandmaster and Okoye a little bit, but let's break them down one by one, and if the power increase is going to help, you know, their play lines in general. Now, Okoye, let's start there. It's a card everybody has. Still probably going to mainly be used in the situational decks that she likes. Things like Black Panther, Surfer decks, and then, of course, now with Scarlet Spider. I expect some more use here combined with maybe Zabu, and so I think Okoye is somewhat of a welcome change. Next, let's talk about Grandmaster, who's kind of a sleeper right now in Marvel Snap. You know, he's not played everywhere, but he is in some competitive decks, and I see his play increasing more and more as people begin to experiment with his new stats. Going up to 2-3, this guy started at 2-0, going up to 2-3. I mean, this could be pretty good for the card as a whole, and I'm kind of excited to see where he goes and where he plugs into the best. Again, you know, he kind of works as this mini Odin. We just had Misery. I'll talk about her at the end of the video here, but Grandmaster should see more play in general and more decks across the board. And then lastly, we've got Emperor Hulkling. Let's face it, guys. This whole screen right here are cards that I've effing whiffed on and where I thought they were going to be in the game. God, I suck. But yeah, this card is just not been good. It's not been a good card, and they're putting a PowerPoint to it, which, you know, marginally should make it better. I don't think he's going to get that much more play. My hope for him is that he's this flexible card like Red Hulk, and you put him into a lot of decks, and, you know, sometimes he's really good, sometimes not so much, but 12 power is 12 power, not bad at all. Kind of hoping they went with the 5-cost route with him. they didn't. Understandable. Probably going to be a little too broken there. But yes, Emperor Hulkling going up as well. So these 3 cards, nice little buffs here. Don't expect a lot of play compared to something like Zabu. But we're not done. I said we had a lot of, 6 buffs today? I kind of lied just a little bit because the other buffs, they have nerfs kind of attached to them, right? Let's start with Scream. One of the newest cards in the game is getting a power point and increased to a 2/3, which if you guys know in the decks that she's played in, a very good card. This deck rocks, and if you like it and you enjoy it, then you definitely are happy that Scream's getting even more power. I thought maybe she'd be going the opposite in, but that's because she does have a nerf. And for those that, you know, aren't technical and they don't really care too much, you won't notice this all the time, but it's significant when paired with something like Juggernaut. Now, unrevealed cards can no longer have their power siphoned, and so Kingpin and Scream, Fist Tower, the location, can no longer take power from cards that are unrevealed, and that's mainly going to be from Juggernaut is where you're going to see it the most. Doesn't affect her massively, but it is definitely going to be something you notice if you played Scream a lot. Next up, we've got none other than White Widow, who they had kind of towards the top in the buff end. This is not a buff at all. The Widow's Kiss is getting a change in a buff route, kind of. -4 now instead of -3, which is cool. And there's no way to get this -4 out of there. However, if you fill your location, it completely destroys the Widow's Kiss. And this is going to hurt more than it's going to help. Yes, there's going to be some synergy with cards like Red Guardian, you know, something like that. I kind of wish it was if at the end of the game, you know, maybe you could destroy it then, and then you could move a card with Stegron and keep it alive kind of thing. This is going to hurt her overall flexibility. White Widow has often been one of the best 2 costs in the game, and we've said this time after time. Second Dinner doesn't like that. They don't like when there's one card that does all the things, and so White Widow got a pretty big hit. They're kind of trying to adjust Clog as a whole. Clog and Hela is the main focus of the nerfs today, and that takes us to the next card. And that's going to be Viper, going from a 3/5 down to a 3/4. Look, nothing too crazy. Viper was starting to be played with the hood in, like, a lot of decks. Like, not just Clog decks, but just a fantastic combo. And now it's going to have a little less bite. And ultimately, they've stated that they want to have Clog have this condition, if you will, that can prevent the game from not being fun if you're playing against Clog. And so we're going to have to see what they mean by that. But that's going to be like the main nerfs. But we have one more big one, and this is the one that people are waiting for. All right. Is it Hela? Well, it's not, but it is. We have Hellcow, who recently just got to activate. Hooray. Hellcow is ridiculous, especially when paired with Hela. And after the last OTA, I mean, that was a head scratcher to say the least, because Hela kind of got buffed in it. This is going to massively hurt Hela decks as a whole. If you played Hellcow down, you pretty much won the game with Hela. Now Hellcow is going to get a power buff going up with power, but a big nerf in the sense of she can only discard 1 card instead of 2. Obviously, that's pretty big. The stat line's nice, and she's still going to be used across different discard decks because Activate with a discard ability is awesome. But less of Hela, which I think is kind of a win for everybody, right? We've had a good month of it. We're good. Okay, we want to move on. So that's all the adjustments today. Obviously, the big highlighter cards are going to be the Zabu and Hellcow. Those 2 are probably going to affect the meta the most. Again, no Activate changes. I think it's actually proven pretty hard to find the right cards to activate because of the major con of not being able to use that on turn 6. And so, you know, I'm still hopeful. I'm hoping that they do bring more cards with the new mechanic in general. Got a couple more things, guys, before I say goodbye today. First of all, if you guys don't know, I've made a full channel. Very laid-back, easy way to know who the hell all these characters are. And pouring in a ton of production in quick time just to tell you the lore and history of the new cards and more moving forward. And we got the first iconic one coming out in Venom. Super pumped for this video. It took way too long to get the thing out, so go ahead and check that out. It means a lot if you subscribe both to that channel and this channel. Now, you guys probably saw my video, or maybe, I don't know, on Misery that came out on Tuesday, and I said I would do a follow-up on what my thoughts were about the card. So quickly, here are my overall rankings on Misery later into the week if you should get her. Kind of stays the same in Namora and War Machine if you don't have those cards. Really good ones, and so roll on that. But as far as the star ratings go, I'll be giving her kind of exactly what I thought. About a 2, maybe 2.5. I'm going to lean more towards 2 stars in the competitive tiers. You know, we just look across the board. Her win rate, her cube rate, she's just kind of awkward, and you have to do a lot for a little, and yes, if you pull the right cards, and in some decks like Mill, it does work out, but overall, I think this card's going to need a little bit of tuning. However, in the fun department, if that's what you're looking for, a 4-star out of 5, I think she is a ton of fun. Does serve as that baby Odin kind of figure. So if you're looking for like a fun card and you need the War Machine into more, definitely, you're not going to be let down. She is a good time. Flexibility, we're going to give a 2.5. Not exactly a card that you want to put in every deck, but there are a lot of Unreveals, and there are a bunch of brews that you can come up with. And then lastly, we have stability, which I'm going to give a 2 out of 5. I think Misery will see a buff, at least in a PowerPoint. She's not worth it overall. And, Second Data has shown that they buff up cards that don't quite meet the mark. And there you go, guys. That's everything you need to know about the new patch. Definitely this should create some change. And then we have the new patch for the game coming pretty soon, another OTA. So we're going to start snowballing into more and more meta changes, which, I'm excited for. Balance is about to get ridiculous. That's a whole nother story. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. If you haven't, subscribe. And until the next one, happy snapping.